Finally get home and get settled. 2 nights before pro day, I get bad dreams. So that's how I know, like, the devil was trying to work on me.
Team that I won't allow him to play for.
Whoa.
This is my profession. I know what's behind the curtain. We ain't got to get back there for me to understand what's not prominent for my son. I'm not doing it.
And if he doesn't listen to you?
Who? No, you must mean owners, like not my son.
We don't like his brashness. We don't like his absence of humility. We got to teach him a lesson because we got to make sure he understands under all circumstances we still run this.
I don't feel like this happened, for no reason. All this is of course, fuel to the fire. And under no circumstance, we all know this shouldn't have happened. But we understand we on the bigger and better thing.
You want to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, I know it's been a long weekend. We're going to take you off the board here, all right, brother?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Hey, listen, you got to come in, you got to work hard, you got to earn your job, earn your keep. And it doesn't matter where you're taking, it matters what you do from this point forward, all right? Talented. We spent a lot of time with you. You're a good kid. Let's get ready to go to work. It's we'll pass on the ball. All right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right? I got a coach here right now. Yo.
What's up, coach?
Good to see you, man.
Yes, sir. I'm excited to see you.
Remember I told you the Lord works in mysterious ways, right?
No, for sure.
Hey, we're going to get to work.
Yes,
I
sir.
know. It's an opportunity. We're going to get to work together, okay, buddy?
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Took him off. And they took him off because the owner said, take him off. I don't want that guy. Shedeur Sanders just torpedoed himself. His attitude off the field at the combine, his dad didn't help him either. He was on podcast talking about, this is my son. If I can get him to where I want to get him to, I'm going to do that. But, when you listen to this kid talk right prior or at the combine about if you want a new culture in your locker room, I'm the guy to do that. I can turn it around. I mean, he's very high on himself. And I think he was very off-putting to many, many coaches and general managers in the league. And I'm telling you right now, and I know this after talking to 3 different personnel people in the NFL this weekend, they didn't even have him on their board. They took him off. And they took him off because the owner said, take him off. I don't want that guy. I don't want this entitled person on our team. And I don't blame him.
A quarterback with NFL bloodlines, elite stats, and superstar swagger. So how did Shedeur Sanders go from potential top 10 pick to watching 144 names get called before his? This wasn't just a draft day disappointment. It was a message. And once you see the full picture, you'll realize this had way less to do with football and way more to do with control. It doesn't take a football genius to see that Shedeur Sanders had one of the most impressive college seasons in recent memory. Over 4,000 passing yards, 37 touchdowns, poise, precision, and pressure handling that most quarterbacks don't master until the pros. He was a clear standout not just at Colorado, but across the entire NCAA. Analysts had him pegged as a first-rounder. Some even threw his name into the top 10 conversation. But then, something strange happened. As the draft approached, his name started sliding down mock boards. At first, people chalked it up to typical draft day volatility, but when he dropped out of the first round, then the second, and then the third, people started asking questions. Over 140 names came off the board before Shedeur did. For a player with his numbers, that wasn't just unexpected, it was suspicious. Behind the scenes, the whispers got louder. It wasn't about his talent, they said. It was about his attitude. Reports leaked that Shedeur came off as entitled and brash in team interviews. He skipped the Shrine Bowl, he skipped the official NFL Combine. Instead, he chose to hold private workouts on his terms. To some execs, that was confidence. To others, it was a red flag. One insider claimed team owners flat out told their staff to remove him from their draft boards. The exact quote, "Take him off, I don't want that guy." That's not a scouting decision, that's personal. What started as a question about performance turned into a conversation about personality. And just like that, Shedeur was no longer being judged on how he played, but how he acted. If there's one person who wasn't about to stay silent, it was Deion Sanders. Coach Prime didn't mince words when he addressed the situation. He made it clear that this wasn't just about Shedeur, it was about the system itself. On a podcast, he said point blank, there are certain teams he wouldn't let his son play for. Not because of contracts, because of culture. This is my profession, he said. I know it's behind the curtain. To some, that was a father protecting his son. To others, it was a challenge to the NFL's unspoken hierarchy. And suddenly, this wasn't just about a young quarterback falling in the draft. It was about a powerful black family refusing to play by the old rules. That's when the comparisons started. And they weren't subtle. Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back when he addressed Shedeur's draft slide. He argued this wasn't just a football decision, it was a warning shot. According to Stephen A., Shedeur was being punished not for anything he did on the field, but for who he was off it. A confident, young black quarterback who didn't bow his head. He even compared the situation to Colin Kaepernick, saying the league was sending the same message. You work for us, we run this league. That comparison hit hard. One private text to Stephen A. described it as Kaepernick-level collusion. He agreed. Whether or not you buy that take, the conversation has shifted. This was no longer a football story, it was a cultural flashpoint. But not everyone bought the idea that Shedeur was some kind of locker room problem. Journalist Josina Anderson shared a very different perspective. According to her, one coach from a top 7 team called Shedeur arrogant in interviews. But when Josina looked at his public appearances, she saw someone completely different. Respectful, funny, and charismatic, even with smaller, independent outlets. That's when another theory started to emerge. This wasn't about arrogance at all. It was about perception. Some coaches and owners weren't just turned off by Shedeur's personality. They were uncomfortable with a player who already had wealth, confidence, and a strong personal brand before ever taking an NFL snap. In other words, he didn't need the league to define him. And for some, that was the real threat. This isn't the first time Sanders shook up the draft process. Back in 1989, Deion Sanders made headlines when the New York Giants tried to hit him with a 100-plus question personality test. Deion took one look and walked out saying, "I'll be gone before you pick." He wasn't wrong.
For the 1989 NFL Draft, the New York Giants tried to give Deion Sanders a test. When Primetime walked into the Giants' interview room, they handed him a book thicker than a telephone book. They told Sanders that it was the test that they give to all of their players. However, once he realized that the Giants had the 10th overall pick in the draft, he looked at them and said, "I'll be gone before then. I ain't got time for this." Then stood up and left the Giants' facilities.
Tell him what does Shedeur Sanders need? What do you hope to get out of the NFL to help you reach your maximum potential as fast as possible?
All I need is opportunity. Simple. Whatever franchise want to change their franchise, and there's no doubt who to go with. I've done it over and over and over, so you'll be a fool not to pick me.
And Lewis mentioned again,
if you ain't trying to change the franchise or the coach, then don't give me. So you should know history repeats itself over and over and over, and I've done it over and over and over, so it should be no question why an NFL franchise should pick me. You think I'm worried about what critics say or what people got to say? You know who my dad is? They hated on him too. So it's like, it's almost normal. Without people hating, it's not normal for us. So we like the adversity. We like everything that comes with the name. That's why we are who we are. I mean, how many times did Raul get touched?
So what?
How many times did Raul get touched? There was able, like, of course, whenever you're able to run the ball consistently and whenever you're able to, then that opens up the pass, you know? But it's just like, you got to understand, like, what your team good at. So it's like, why would we keep running the ball if, okay, we out there and we get in a situation where it's a must get and we don't get it?
Are those kind of 4th and 1 conversions that haven't gone your guys' way in the last couple? Is that kind of play into everybody's mind? Is that kind of something on your mind when thinking about, advancing the ball and whatnot?
Nah, I'd rather, if we're going to go down, I'd rather go down swinging, honestly. Because I know I could throw the best punch.
Wagging his bravado, whatever, y'all gonna turn against him. How about y'all should have drafted Shedeur Sanders earlier because of that alone? I'm not talking about at the expense of his skill. I know he's got to have skill. That's not what I mean. I'm saying, rather than look at all of those things as a negative, how about looking at it as a positive? You got a primetime Deion Sanders. His son is gonna be motivated to perform at a higher level. he is all about performing at a higher level. He would be in his son's ear, imploring him to listen to his coaches, imploring him to play better, imploring him to be dedicated and focused and on point. Did you ever think about that? Of course not. Because, ladies and gentlemen, as times change, they remain the same. Young kid, privileged to be raised by a father who's universally recognized as one of the greatest athletes the world has ever seen, and a champion, by the way. He's still black. We don't like his brashness. We don't like his absence of humility. We got to teach him a lesson because we got to make sure he understands under all circumstances, we still run this. We're the bosses, and we can put our foot on your neck any damn time we want to. That's what happened to Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders over the last few days, spanning 5 rounds and 143 picks. That's what happened. It was a check hook. Stay in your lane. Know your position. This is the National Football League. You ain't running a damn thing this way. You will be humble. You will conduct yourself with humility. Nothing is given to you. Everything is earned. And even then, we'll decide whether we want to give it to you or not. That's how they treated Shedeur Sanders.
But here's the difference. Deion had generational talent and the resume to back up his swagger. He was already prime time. Critics argue that Shedeur's confidence doesn't come with the same receipts. He hasn't won a national title. He hasn't played in the SEC. He hasn't gone head-to-head with NFL-level defenses week after week. So when he carries himself with that same boldness to some decision-makers, it feels unearned, premature, and maybe that's where the real divide starts. Not just in stats, but in who's allowed to act like they belong. To his supporters, Shedeur isn't just a talented quarterback. He's the face of a new generation of athletes, one that's media-savvy, self-aware, and completely unafraid to own the spotlight. This is a guy who helped flip the narrative at Jackson State, then brought national attention to Colorado just by showing up. He didn't just play football, he changed the culture around it. But that kind of presence makes some people nervous, especially when it comes in the form of a young black man with jewelry, swagger, and a last name that already echoes through the league. Some execs may still want a quiet, humble, system-first quarterback. What they got instead was someone who walked in like he'd already built the system himself. And the NFL, for all its progress, isn't always quick to adapt. Then came the moment that pushed this story beyond sports. Former Congressman Jamal Bowman posted a video that lit up social media, claiming outright that the NFL had a problem with Shedeur Sanders simply because he wears gold chains and talks like a confident black man. His statement didn't just echo what fans had already been feeling, it sharpened it. Suddenly, this draft slide wasn't just a football miscalculation, it was being framed as a cultural rejection, a pushback against a player who didn't ask for permission to be himself. And for many watching, it wasn't hard to connect the dots. When you combine race, legacy, media power, and generational wealth, you start to see why this wasn't just about one quarterback. It was about a league deciding who gets to lead and who gets left behind. If you think Shedeur's story is just getting started, hit that like button and drop a comment. Do you think this was about football or something way bigger? And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives just like this.